Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome back to the Mining Stacker YouTube channel where we cover all things crypto from the perspective of a miner. So, today's video, we're going to do kind of like a recap of all this SBF, FTX, all this nonsense that's been going on. So, I'm not going to get into the details specifically with like SBF and FTX, all that drama nonsense. If you want to read about it, there's a ton of stuff. It's a bunch of gossip stuff, and more stuff is going to be keep coming out every day, pretty much. But I'm not really going to get into it. If you do want to laugh, though, watch these interviews he just did. He just did one with the New York Times, and he did another one with George Stephanopoulos on like Good Morning America, um, which are hilarious. He's like the equivalent of like a 5-year-old who's getting in trouble, who's getting like chastised. It's borderline ridiculous, but again, it's it's quite a watch. I guess it's something that's eventually going to be a movie. That much drama in it, but just gonna kind of recap as far as like what's going on, what's affecting us as miners, us as like crypto investors, and what to look for in the future, right? Because it's still not over. This thing is still ongoing, unfortunately, and more stuff's gonna happen. Um, so firstly, want to start out with a reminder that all this that's been happening, it's not a crypto issue. This is a centralized finance issue. This is not, the tech hasn't changed. These projects haven't changed. This is specifically FTX, centralized finance, Sam Bankman Fried, and greed. Okay, so please keep that in mind. I know a lot of people are nervous, they're paranoid, a little scared, but keep that in mind. Okay, that's what all this contagion, all this stuff is all stemming from. So we're gonna go over the big things that have happened. The first one was with Voyager, right? So there was a good chance that FTX was gonna, they took essentially their assets and they were gonna try to come up with a way for people to possibly get their funds back. They hadn't really disclosed what the whole plan was, but maybe it was gonna be a portion of it, maybe all of it. At this point, it doesn't matter anymore anyway because that's no longer the case. So it feels bad for you, Voyager guys. Again, things were kind of looking okay until this happened, and that just killed that whole possibility. So that was one. Another big thing that happened was with Genesis Crypto. So they are halting customer withdrawals. And what this affected more than anything, aside from their things, is with Gemini Earn. So not Gemini as a whole, but specifically their Gemini Earn, because it was done with Genesis. So any of you guys who have money there, it's still locked up. They still halted withdrawals. Nothing is finalized yet. I know they've been looking at bankruptcy, but nothing has been finalized there. So there's still a chance you may be able to withdraw. We don't know. This is still currently ongoing. So if any of you guys have anything there, this is something to keep your eye on. It's still not a fully lost cause, but it just all depends on what happens with Genesis, right? And again, this is specific to the Gemini Earn, not Gemini as a whole. Okay. The other big fallout was with BlockFi. So again, we kind of knew this was coming. They pretty much came out like a few days after saying that they were going to look at bankruptcy because they had stuff with FTX. So they did officially file for bankruptcy. So that's a wrap officially. So we don't know how that's going to go from there. Um, So again, hopefully you guys, saw that first video I did right off the bat and you guys got all your stuff off of exchanges, off of any centralized finance things. Keep your coins, guys. For now, there's just too much hostility still. It's still going to be volatile. There's still going to be other things coming up. Like these are the ones that are confirmed now. I'm still sure there's still going to be more stuff coming out. But for the most part, it seems like all the big players that are involved, this is gonna hopefully be mostly it. Again, I still see like every day there's been like smaller, overseas exchanges that have been coming up, possibly insolvent. I'm sure there's gonna be others. I'm sure there's gonna be other lenders. But for the most part, currently, as long as you have control of your coins, you're gonna be okay. So these other things might cause more price volatility. Um, but again, as long as you have control, custody of your coins, it looks like the worst is over for the most part. Okay. We did finally get some positive price action recently, so that's good. We haven't really had any kind of pumps since pretty much this happened. We did have a few like proof of work coins pump. We had Casper recently, almost made it to a penny. Flux had a big pump recently, and a few others. There's quite a few. Overall, it's been looking okay, and it's because the stocks have been doing okay, so we've been going up with it. Mainly because the Fed looks like it might be a little bit more dovish, so may have more good news in a few weeks here if we get a lower interest rate hike. So things are looking good on that end. There are two things though that we still really got to keep an eye on that can really affect things, at least in the short term. One of them more in the long term, but one in the short term, and one of them is the FTX hacker, right? So currently, they still haven't revealed who he is. I think SBF in one of these interviews came out and he said that he thinks most likely it's a FTX employee, former employee, something of that sort. Um, there were earlier reports of Kraken possibly knowing who the exploiter was based off of previous addresses, but nothing came of that. So they may know, but we don't know. Nothing's been officially disclosed. This was an interesting article that at one point this guy was the 35th largest ETH holder, period. Um, and so far he's still active, right? So I think last I saw he just transferred to like another exchange. He's still making moves. He's still trying to like wash trade things. He hasn't been able to cash out, and chances are he won't be cashing out. There's been a lot of speculation that there's a good chance that he's been intentionally kind of dumping the market. When this first came out, I don't know if you guys remember, we had that big ETH dump, and that was mostly because of this guy. He was converting ETH to like a wrapped Bitcoin. I think it was Ren BTC is what it was. And there's speculation that what he may be doing is like just playing with the market essentially like shorting different things, doing things of that sort, and getting money on that end. Because chances are he has so many eyes on him that he's not going to be able to cash out. So, again, that's still something to keep your eye on. This dude might just be trolling us, and he might just manipulate the market. This whole time he has all this money until they find out who it is or what it is, or if it's an employee, or there was rumors of it being SBF himself, but I doubt that's the case. But we may never know. He may just short the funds and make money that way. So that is still something to keep your eye on. The other big thing is we're gonna have more minor capitulation, right? And it's because of this price action. So before this happened, I don't know if you guys remember, it feels like we were having a little mini pump. ETH was like at 1600, and it looks like we might, have a little rally going. And then this happened, and then that killed that. So, and it potentially may last a while. Again, we don't know. We might have a little, Santa rally. We don't really know. Not really here to speculate price, but what we do know is that miners have been capitulating. Obviously, we know we've covered it in the past that they've been having issues. Some of them becoming insolvent. There's been rumors of other ones not paying their electric bills. Some of them powering off. A lot of them who had, especially the ones who had debt. Those are the main guys who are in trouble right now because a lot of the equipment that they took loans on isn't worth anything, right? It's worth a fraction of what it was when a lot of these guys purchased it. And especially right now, a lot of them are getting their orders in that they placed in a year ago for like these S19XPs, these ant spaces, these hydro containers. They're getting them now, and there's no profit there. Like there's just going to be an ongoing issue. So a lot of these guys who were having issues, they're going to continue to have issues, right? So we're going to go over this article from News BTC, titled "Historic Bitcoin Miner Capitulation in Full Effect: How Long Will It Last?" by Jake Simmons. So the collapse of the crypto exchange FTX is causing a historic event in the Bitcoin market. Yesterday, on-chain data signaled the second wave of a Bitcoin miner capitulation in one cycle. Historically, miners have had a massive impact on the BTC price. The now heralded miner capitulation will put further selling pressure on the Bitcoin price, which is experiencing a historically bad November, down 21%. On-chain data shows that the second wave of miner capitulation has now begun, suggesting further pain for the BTC price. As analyst Dylan LeClaire wrote, the Bitcoin hash rate is starting to tilt here. Bitcoin miners underwater. The 7-day moving average hash rate is now 13.7% away from its all-time high, Mining difficulty is expected to adjust by about it's going to go down 9% in a week, which will take some pressure off of miners, at least in the short term. And this is from a lot of them beginning to power off, right? At this point, they're not making enough to even like pay their electric, right? So nevertheless, miner margins have been and continue to be massively squeezed since June, the first capitulation event in this cycle. Despite this, the hash rate still rose to an all-time high until recently. This, the increased mining difficulty, and the FTX-related price crash have pushed the hash price to its lowest level since late 2020. So we can see there's more things here. But essentially, all these guys who have been having issues are going to continue to have issues, right? So it's stemming from this, it's from this price action, and there's a good chance we may stay in this range for quite a while. So even those guys who may not have as much debt, they may still be in trouble, just depending on how long this crappy price action is going to continue, right? Unfortunately, this thing is going to linger for a while. Just like with the whole Celsius and Luna and Three Arrows Capital situation, it lasted a good while before that finally like started clearing up. And we're going to have the same issues here. The only thing we do have in our favor, though, is things are kind of slightly looking better. The Fed might start lowering interest rates, so we'll see mid-December. That'll give us a sign of things to come. And hopefully, things start turning around, especially for these guys. We'll see how many of them make it. And we'll go from there. We'll see, because I know the prices of equipment has been going down, so that's the main reason we're keeping an eye on it, right, as these guys are selling. Unfortunately, though, it seems like they're mainly selling the older stuff. So the main things I've been seeing are like the S19J Pros, the 100, 104 terahash, that generation. They've been going down. Like I've been seeing them like in the 1500s, 1400s even, right? And again, it's because currently they're not profitable, and a lot of these guys are getting rid of them by like the boatloads. Some of these other guys are picking them up, but I'm sure in favor of picking those up, they're going to be picking up these more efficient models. These S19 XPs, these Hydro models that have been coming out. Bitmain released theirs. What's Miner has theirs out. And I'm sure that's more the route they're going towards. So that's why the inventory is going to get flooded with these older models. And even like retail's not really picking them up. Like I wouldn't really be looking at them. Only because, again, if I had more electrical space, I probably would be looking at it. But if anything, I'd be looking more at like a S19 XP, which unfortunately they haven't dropped enough yet. I'm sure there's still, chance that they're going to go down even further, but only time will tell. So again, guys, I think for the most part, the worst of it is over. There still is going to be small news things. I'm sure there's going to be other smaller exchanges, and those may affect the price. But as far as like the extreme price changes, the extreme things going down, I think for the most part we're good. The last thing we're still waiting on is what's going on with Genesis, right? Mainly because they're part of, the digital currency group DCG. We'll see how that goes, because again, that's going to affect all of you Gemini Earn people, depending on what goes on there. If they get funding or if they go through bankruptcy, and we'll see. So again, guys, it's mainly the stuff going on with Genesis and this freaking FTX hacker. We'll see what goes on with that. All right, guys, so just wanted to give you a quick update in case you haven't been following, only because there's been so much crap. I know I haven't really talked about it too much, but it's just a lot of it's like gossip junk. I don't even want to get into all the details with that. I'm just going to be talking about like how it affects us, like investment-wise, what we're looking at, and go from there. All right, guys, well, hopefully you learned something. You got something from this video. Please comment, like, subscribe, and I'm out.